Hello there, what's going on everybody? We're here with Az from Mythic Games and we're going to be talking Joan of Arc today. How are you, Az?
I'm so good, Tim. It's great to meet you.
Wonderful to meet you too. We're here at Gen Con 2019 and we got a lot of Joan of Arc stuff to do. You guys just announced, so if you guys haven't already seen, I've done a couple of Joan of Arc videos. Huge game. There's more content in this Kickstarter than I could probably ever play in my life. So if you're looking for something to like play for like the next 10 years and never have a duplicate game, you know, definitely check that out. And we have good news if you missed it, because a lot of people have said, where can I get this? You guys have just announced it's coming back to Kickstarter with this 1.5. So tell us about that.
Cool. So yeah, one of the main questions we get, especially when we're at shows, is can I buy the game? Can I buy the dragon? Where can I get hold of it, right? At the moment, the first Kickstarter, which ran back in November 2017, is all the Wave 1's delivered, all the Wave 2 is essentially now in processing and packing and shipping. So the boats are already on the water for Europe. The American boats are basically like a week away from leaving the docks in China, so it's all go, right? So what we've said is, right, once that Wave 2 starts to get to everybody, once all the backers in the first campaign get it, we're going to a second version, a 1.5 we're calling it basically. We're doing a couple of big things with it, right? The first one is we're bringing the Teutonic Knights in. So yeah, I'll bring this into you, buddy.
All right.
We've got the, there you go, you can do your thing.
Look at this.
We've got the Teutonic Knights who are basically going to be bringing in the Eastern European kind of factions more during the 100-year War and medieval period. So we're looking at the Polish, we're looking at the Russian, we're looking at the Lithuanian. We're looking at some of the biggest battles really that ever took place in medieval Europe, right? And we're looking at bringing in some of those paganistic kind of factions. So not just looking at the English and French now and kind of their belief in Christianity, but also looking at like Percunus, the paganistic god of war and thunder. We're looking at kind of the shamanistic, almost Celtic kind of is maybe a better term, and their rituals and beliefs. And we're going to kind of throw all of that in to really expand more on what the first Time of Legends Joan of Arc was.
Wow.
This is going to take us, we're currently estimating, to over 1,100 minis if you actually buy the entire range.
1,100 minis.
So
wow.
it's going to be quite the big thing, right? If you do go all in for what will be Time of Legends Joan of Arc and the new expansion. The second big bit of news, other than this coming kind of in the fall and autumn of this year, is that we're going to be giving something back to our original backers. So if you are an original backer of the first campaign, we did a press release this week where we're talking about how we're going to do a hardback version of all the scenarios. We're going to do a new rulebook, we're going to do some errata fixes on cards, and we're going to send out some aids to help people with the setup of the game. And we're going to send that essentially to any returning backers who spend at least $20 in the new campaign. So
fantastic. So you pick up one add-on and then you're there.
Yeah, essentially. So rather than charging for an upgrade pack, what we're going to basically do is say, if you spend $20 on anything you want, you will get that pack.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's really good.
If you backed multiple copies of the core game, you get an update pack for every single one.
Oh, that's
so if
really
you took
good.
3 copies of the core game, you get 3 update packs, freely shipped, free shipping.
It's for those people who bought it for their friends or for Christmas gifts, or they all went in on one pledge.
Yep.
That's great. Oh, wow. So that's really cool, and it's really good news for everybody who missed out that still now wants to get it. Yep. There's still time. But also, there's more for Joan of Arc than that. You guys, so I saw right before I flew out here, you guys were partnered with Lucky Duck to create a whole new experience using Joan of Arc.
That you nailed it, man. So
Lucky Duck Games, all right, good. I'm glad.
Lucky Duck Games contacted us back at the start of this year, and Lucky Duck Games are probably best known for Chronicles of Crime. And they developed this app system with Chronicles of Crime where you have QR codes that you can scan different things in the game to interact, and it's very much app driven. They came to us and said, hey, we want to take the systems and the software and the app that we've developed, and we want to take the IP of Time of Legends Joan of Arc, take that story, take those characters, take that setting and everything you guys have made, and we want to make it into a completely different game. So this is going to be done by Lucky Duck Games. They're hoping to launch it on Kickstarter in September, and it is going to be standalone. So the game will come if you back their Kickstarter completely. You don't need anything from the original Joan of Arc that we did. This is a standalone product that will come complete in the box. And the idea of this game is very, very different to anything many people may have seen before. So the first thing is app driven. You may be familiar with apps if you've played anything like that before. We have an app you can move around. We have a map that you're going to be exploring. We have points of interest that you're going to be able to both see on the map and on the board that you're going to be able to interact with as the players you're playing with. So, for example, if I was playing as the Herbalist, who we have down here in front, I'll take you through a little bit of what the prototype board looks like. Very much a prototype at the moment, of course.
Sure.
We have the Herbalist here. We have some of the Herbalist inventory. We have the Herbalist stat track for it. If you're familiar with role-playing games, you'll get these. We have a physical kind of strength and body. We have a dexterity, agility, kind of perception, and we have a wisdom, ability to influence people and kind of have this conversation, this wisdom here. And these 3 tracks essentially will be tied to tests that you're going to do throughout the game. Because the idea is that each character you play as, it's set in this kind of medieval 100 Years War kind of period, same as Joan of Arc, but you're not playing as Joan of Arc now. You're not playing as the big characters, the heroes of the time. You're instead playing as the Herbalist, the Deserter, the Monk, these characters who are much more simple and basically just civilians. And you're going to be there interacting, trying to kind of develop your destiny. And here's the kicker, here's the thing that might kind of surprise people, and I think it's going to really intrigue players. This game is competitive.
Oh, really?
Each player has their card at the start of the game, and on the back of the card they're going to get a little bit of story about each character, and on the bottom there's going to be 2 paths that dictate how they could potentially achieve their destiny for this specific scenario that they're in.
Oh, very cool. I like that.
Is completely secret, known only to the player who's playing as the character, and you'll be developing your
so
character.
The Deserter will be different each time you play this.
Essentially, because every single scenario is completely different as well, so the paths you choose will also open up different things. It's going to be very, very diverse. The idea in this particular one is that there's a werewolf basically hunting the town.
That reminds me of a particular scenario in Joan of Arc.
Exactly right. Now in Joan of Arc, when you play it in Time of Legends Joan of Arc, you play as Sir Jihan essentially hunting the werewolf, or you play as the werewolf trying to hide amongst the town and basically ravage the town, right?
Yeah.
In this version...
My poor town got ravaged
terribly.
terribly.
Man.
Terribly.
In this version, the werewolf and Sir Jihan are still here, and you'll see that we're using the same minis as we're in Time of Legends Joan of Arc, but again, the box will come with everything you need to play. You don't have to have Joan of Arc. But you're not playing as these guys. These guys are now essentially NPC characters in the town. You're playing as townsfolk who are basically trying to achieve their own story. So for example, I don't want to give too much spoiler away, but
Sure.
the Deserter, military background, very just, very noble, very righteous. He actually, one of his 2 destiny paths refer to Sir Jihan as not quite being the holy knight of good and true that he might lead himself to believe. And to achieve the Deserter victory and to achieve the goal for him, what you've got to do is you've got to essentially develop a case, kind of prove to the town and to the mayor, and essentially hold a trial to say, I can prove that Sir Jihan is up to no good.
Oh, wow.
So when you're playing, I'll show very quickly a little bit on the app. So for example, I've got the Herbalist here. I could go into the inn, for example. Do I want to spend my turn interacting with the inn? Yes. I'm going to be presented with a little bit of story. I'll just summarize for this. So essentially it's saying the inn is normally bustling with people, but for some reason it's really not, which is strange. The innkeeper also calls you over and basically says, hey, there's actually a traveling Romani tradesman who owes me 4 gold. If you see him, send him my way, right?
Right.
And they've got a couple of options. The first one is, we could actually be very nice, and we could just give 4 gold to the innkeeper and say, hey, don't worry about it. I'll give you the gold that you're missing, and I'll find him, and I'll sort it out.
Sure.
Or we could ask the innkeeper about something. So for example, I could say, ask the innkeeper about, and then if you have a look, I'll bring them up here.
Oh,
we've
look
got
at
some rations, we've got some herbs, we've got a bloodhound, and all these things have QR codes on them. Or for example,
Awesome.
we've got our own herbalist character and the destinies involved. So I could basically put this QR code up to the screen, and he's going to react to what I've just shown him. So the innkeeper is going to say, haven't I told you, haven't you heard what I told you about the money? I don't need to engage in other people's problems until I solve my own. Maybe the blacksmith will help you, right?
This is pretty good. Wow. But,
So it's all interactive with what you put into it, right?
Okay.
I'll show you one other thing because it's important for like the overall feeling of the game. There's a test symbol here where it says listen to gossip, right? And this is going to say, okay, we're going to perform a test and see how many successes we can achieve.
Oh, okay.
If we go back to our player board for a second, we'll refer back to those 3 stats we were just talking about, right? And you'll see that some of the cards will give you improvements to your stats. Like if I've got a bloodhound, it's going to give me a potential success on 6 on my physical and a potential success on a 9 on my dexterity. And what this means is, when I'm testing something, I'll roll my 2 common dice, very much prototyping right now, and then I'll choose, if I want to add in effort dice, but you only get 1 effort dice recouped back each day when you rest. So if I was to expend one of these, essentially it's gone until I rest to get 1 back. So I could roll both of these dice. let's say I do it now, and I get a total, well, that's not bad, so that is actually a total of 10. I would say it's a wisdom check, so I'd basically say, okay, 2, 3, 4, so I get 1 success. 5, 6, I get 2 successes. Oh, I'm up to 11, I missed that one, so okay, I'm getting 2 successes. So then I would go back to the app, and I would tell it, okay, I just got 2 successes, and it's going to contextually give me a result depending on how well I did.
Right.
So in this case, we find out that the innkeeper tells us that he heard the huntsman who lives southwest of Centilly is sick. Now, when the wolves are on the hunt, he should be working all day, so someone should probably go and help him. So we've just, from one conversation with the innkeeper, we now know the blacksmith might be able to help us with our destiny. We also know that the huntsman, who is down southwest of Centilly, is sick, and if we were able to help him, he might join us, he might help us find out what's going on with the wolves.
All right.
I can choose to end my turn whenever I want, or, for example, I could buy some provisions.
As long as you have the money.
As long as I have the money, and I can...
And is all tracked through the app also?
All tracked. Well, you're going to have tokens in front of you as well, so you will have your own resources.
But they're there to basically remind you.
Exactly,
okay.
Yes. And you'll also have all of this. All these items that you'll find that you'll have to use for different scenarios. Every single one is going to give you a QR code.
That's really cool.
So let me tell you the funnest thing I've done in the game so far. So I was playing as a deserter. I came across a cart that had basically been knocked over, and I was spending time searching the cart trying to find goods. I didn't test very well. I made a bunch of noise, and a wolf jumped out and pounced on me. To react to the wolf, I ran away, but it caught me because, again, I didn't test very well. So I threw my distilled poison on the wolf, basically forcing it to run away. So I was able to, and again, the situation where, for example, this lantern always gives you a 10 success, so you've got an extra position in your track. It also gives you a guaranteed success whenever you're doing tests against wolves or werewolves, but I can always use the lantern as an item as well. So if I'm somewhere dark, I can scan it.
And if you use it, then you lose that 10 success, right?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. If I use the lantern as a light, maybe I get to keep it. It's fine. If I use it to throw and burn a house down, maybe the lantern's gone, right?
Awesome. All right, so now, these are prototypes.
Yes.
I'm assuming maybe like these will be recessed so that we don't do what I just did.
Yeah, they're going to Kickstarter, right? And we know what Kickstarters are like. If we unlock it, because it's going to be on the Lucky Duck, like Lucky Duck Games are running
it.
Yeah. So yes.
Well, that's a good suggestion.
Exactly.
That's my input. That's
my
contribution.
An experienced gamer knows what he wants.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's really good. Now, as far as the app, let's talk about the app because is it going to work for Android and iOS?
It will work on both.
What about PC?
I believe so. Phone and tablet definitely. Laptop, I want to say yes.
You don't always have a QR scanner.
Yeah,
you don't always have a QR.
That's it. I will hesitantly say yes because I have seen it running on a laptop, but we're currently running a very prototype version.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, and this will reflect a lot of the time what's in the game. So, for example, if I wanted to explore a tile as a deserter, it'll flip over, it'll give me some context, it'll add new points of interest that I can then interact with, and of course then I'll replicate that on the board, and I'll add those new kind of points of interest sort of into the board as well. The cool thing kind of about this though is there's a hidden stat in the game that's not on the board, and it's actually in the background of the app, and that's called Virtue. So you have your main 3 stats that everyone knows.
Role play, isn't
you know it, buddy. So here's the idea. Everything you do has good and bad ramifications. So for example, not a big spoiler this one, if you find the huntsman, it actually turns out that he's lost his dog, and the herbalist in this little demo has his bloodhound, and you can choose to give him his bloodhound back.
But you'll lose those benefits.
Yeah. Or you could keep the bloodhound. Now those are kind of, one's quite nice and friendly and one's quite not so nice and a bit more selfish.
Yeah.
That's going to affect the hidden virtue stat in the app. So whenever you go to certain places, for example, let me show this one. So is that good for you there?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I have this card and we reveal it, not a lot changes on this one, except there's actually a guy who's a farmer by looks of things, and he's ploughing his field as if it was summer, but it's clearly winter, and he's not really looking like he's right in his mind, okay?
Oh, yeah.
If you happen to have been going down kind of a holy, virtuous route, you might be presented with some options that might let you help him. If you've been maybe going down a darker path, you might have ways to
hide
potentially...
the body right out there.
There we go, you're thinking about it.
All right, that's great.
So
how many different adventures can we expect to see, roughly?
I think straight out the box, they're looking at 5 in the core box, but they're looking at expanding on top of that. Obviously the stories are going to kind of be unveiled, but every time you play, you're definitely going to see different things depending on what your choices and what you do and what characters you play with. 2 key bits of information, I think, because this is kind of important, and this is where a lot of people might be a bit shocked, is that right now we're looking at 1 to 3 players for this. So Lucky Duck Games see this, first of all, a solo experience. This is going to be incredible. 2 and 3 also plays really nicely, because
especially when you got your different victory. Maybe 2 people win, 1 person loses.
Absolutely, and this thing is competitive, right?
Okay.
So it's that at the end of each game, well, not the end of each game, when you feel that you have obtained enough information, gathered enough items, got enough essentially things that you know, kind of like Cluedo, right? You think you've pieced it together. You're going to do what's called an epic destiny, which is where you tell the app, right, I'm ready to essentially make my case. And you're no longer going to be spending your turns moving about and searching. You'll basically enter this option where you're going to be presenting information. So, for example, to go back to what I said before, if the deserter's trying to prove that Sir Jihan's a bad guy, we'll be looking to prove to the mayor and the townsfolk that is the case. If the herbalist is trying to complete a ritual to turn back and undo the werewolf's damages, she'll have her own thing. She has to commit relics and such to do that. But the other players are still involved at that point. They can still move around, do their own searching, or they can still potentially intervene and negatively impact what you're trying to do.
There may be a case where that was basically my last question is, how likely would I want to sabotage you? Is your victory condition somehow going to conflict with mine, potentially?
100%
That's
they
very
will.
Good news. That's
all
awesome.
the destinies are going to intertwine in different ways. For example, if the herbalist was able to heal the huntsman, I might be quite annoyed depending on what my destiny is. Whereas if the huntsman was to come to an untimely death, it might suit what I actually want to do.
Awesome.
Outside of that, it's if I go too early, if I try and kind of complete my epic destiny but I haven't gathered enough information, it's going to take me a long time, or I might not even succeed in doing it at all. It's kind of like saying, hey, I found the murder weapon. Oh, that gives you like a 20% complete towards your goal.
Sure.
Oh, hey, I found a piece of paper that has your name on it. Oh, that's like 2% towards your goal. You need to choose when it's right for you to commit to that kind of final act, right?
Yeah.
So very narrative driven, and again, it starts almost quite nice and almost cooperative and almost finished. You're all gaining information. All the information on the tablet is for everybody. Only your destinies will be hidden. And then as it comes towards the crux of things, as you start to overlap and get in each other's way a little bit, I might be like, hey, Crabbok, yeah, go ahead and throw that lantern, buddy. That'd be really terrible if that house burned down.
You can definitely even make deals and say, we could both win, but I remember last game when you screwed me over, I'm going to screw you. And that's all right. Well, that sounds great. So coming to Kickstarter in September.
That's their current plan. Yeah, it is Lucky Duck Games doing it, and that's when they'd like to go. But there's a little bit of wiggle room there because they're as you see, it's looking pretty good already. But they've got some aspirations to add even more to it.
All right. Well, Time of Legends, Destiny, and Joan of Arc coming back to Kickstarter soon. Check out Mythic Games, and I will definitely be covering them. So make sure you also subscribe and follow for more news. But definitely check them out. I want to thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
And thank you guys for watching. And as always, have a great day.